Hi everybody and welcome back to the Keto Kitchen. Thank you so much for joining me here today. In this video I want to talk to you about keto flu, what it is, why it happens and how to reduce the symptoms. I'm also going to tell you about some foods which I believe will help, and I'm going to show you how you can pretty much avoid it altogether. So first, a few general points about keto flu. Whilst I can't say that keto flu is a pleasant experience, when I explain the process in a bit more detail, I hope that you will be able to take away the fact that it's really important that rather than being something to fear and worry about, it is in fact a reason to be quite positive, because keto flu is all about removing yourself from a situation that has not been supportive of how a healthy body optimally works. And I prefer to look at it like that rather than some sort of nightmare scenario that you've got to go through in order to get yourself to a particular destination. I think keto is becoming more and more popular now, and as more people decide to give it a go, coming across keto flu is more likely to happen. If it does happen to you, it's important to realise that the symptoms are entirely normal and to be expected, in fact. There are things you can do, there are actions you can take which will really help to alleviate how you're feeling. Okay, so let's get more down into the details of keto flu. Keto flu is a name given to a group of symptoms that may appear for somewhere between 2 to 7 days after starting a keto diet. Or another way of putting this is 2 to 7 days after you come off sugar. It usually lasts for a week or two, maybe as little as 3 days, maybe as long as 2 weeks, and that all depends really on your previous adherence to processed foods and being a sugar burner. The most common symptoms of keto flu are headache, foggy brain, fatigue, irritability, nausea, difficulty sleeping, lack of motivation, muscle cramps, difficulty concentrating, dizziness and sore muscles. In fact, pretty much all the symptoms that you might get if you actually had flu. As the body transitions from being predominantly a sugar burner to being a fat burner, the body has to start looking for something else to burn. Because as you lower your carb intake, the body no longer has those carbs to turn into glucose, which it then burns as sugar. And so it has to find or make an alternative source of energy. And that's where ketones come in. Now, if you've been eating a highly processed diet for a long time, as most people have nowadays, where you've been finding your food from packets in the supermarket filled with highly palatable and very unhealthy compounds which do not support good metabolic health, your body has to get used to no longer having those nasty chemicals, which for some people actually has become an addiction. And so the body needs to go through a period of coming off those foods. But when you know how terrible those ultra processed foods are for health and how they undermine our attempts at losing weight and wanting to get more healthy, there's no question that getting rid of those from your diet is the very best first step to getting onto a more optimal way of eating. So in order to burn fat rather than sugar, the body has to make ketones. So ketones are produced in the liver, and this happens when carbs are kept low, and so the pancreas sends a signal out to the fat cells telling them to release fatty acids, and that's your stored fat that you want to get rid of. Those fatty acids are taken to the liver where they're converted into ketones, an incredibly clean type of fuel which can be used by almost every cell of the body. And so what happens to those few cells that don't get their energy from fat? Where are they going to get their energy from? So now we're talking about red blood cells in certain parts of the eyes. Well, your body already has that taken care of, because it can make that tiny amount of sugar from protein, which it converts into glucose. So there's really no essential need for the body to have sugar as fuel, because it makes all the sugar that it needs. So you don't need to be a sugar burner in order to function optimally, and far better to become a fat burner and experience all the positives that go along with that. So the body will begin to turn fat into ketones for energy, but until it gets used to burning those ketones on a regular basis, there will be a period of time, a transition period, where the organs of the body and the brain are getting used to something they've not had a lot of, probably for a long time. And the keto flu happens in that transition period, just until the body and the organs learn to enjoy the experience of using ketones and fat for their energy on a regular basis, not just every now and then. And believe me, once they get used to ketones for their energy, you will start to notice a huge difference in how you feel, how you cope with stressful situations, and how less agitated you feel. In fact, so many people I speak to talk about a feeling of euphoria when burning ketones. So if you're about to begin on your keto lifestyle, there are a lot of positives that are just around the corner for you. During this transition period, the body will get rid of a lot of fluid, and this is one of the first benefits that people see when they go keto. They lose a lot of that bloat that they've had, that they've been carrying around, and this happens because the body has no need to retain the water it used to have to hang on to deal with carbohydrates. And that's a really interesting fact, because for every gram of carbohydrate consumed, your body has to hold on to 4 grams of water. Yes, carbs and sugar actually make you more bloated. And that is bloating that you don't need, and I'm sure you never even wanted in the first place. Now, don't think that going keto means you're depriving your brain or your vital organs of something it really needs. In fact, the brain loves to burn ketones for energy. Remember that the brain is more than 60% fat. So once the transition period has settled down, the brain functions extremely well on ketones, far better than on sugar. And that is because ketones are a much cleaner type of fuel, as they produce far fewer toxic byproducts. In fact, the latest research is showing that when the brain is supplied with ketones for energy through a ketogenic way of life, there is a positive effect on how we feel and on our mood, and a real benefit for mental health. I hope you're beginning to see the positives of coming off sugar. During this transition period of moving over to burning fat for energy and getting rid of this stored water, the unnecessary bloat, the kidneys will release, along with water, sodium and other minerals called electrolytes. So that's sodium, magnesium and potassium. And they do this because the kidneys are not able to separate those electrolytes out from the fluids that it's going to excrete. And so all of those and the fluid all come out together. As this happens, the body will become low in sodium, in magnesium and in potassium. And as they're removed from the body, the brain will send signals that you need to replace or restore those levels of minerals. those signals can be feelings of lightheadedness or muscle cramps or headaches. And so that's really your body sending you a message that, you know what, things are changing and you need to take action to help your body to manage through this transition period. So when you experience any of those symptoms, it's actually a call to take action. Firstly, don't worry that something is wrong. As I've said, this transition period is a positive step forwards, and it's so important to allow the body to do what it needs to in order to complete the changeover from sugar to fat burning, and to move from being predominantly reliant on, well, crap really, to learning to thrive on real food and boost your energy and health. These are some things that you can do to help to alleviate the symptoms. So you can add about 1/4 teaspoon of good quality salt to a big glass of water. I personally found that it would take about 15 to 20 minutes for the sodium in the water to start to take effect and for those symptoms to reduce. You can add extra sodium to your food by eating low carb vegetables which are high in water, and sprinkle some salt onto those. I always used to keep celery sticks in the fridge because they have a very high water content, and I love them sprinkled with salt. You can also try pickled gherkins, which have a very high salt content and a low carb, although please do check the jar first, because some that say that they're sweet and pickled do have quite a lot of sugar in them, so you want to avoid those at all costs. I also use salt sticks, so I use these ones here. I'll put these up on a slide for you. I picked these up from various fitness websites, and these sticks contain sodium, magnesium and potassium, so they're great and really convenient if you're out and about. Dark chocolate is very high in magnesium, and if you want to try this, you should make sure you choose a minimum of 80% cocoa, just to be sure that you're choosing something that is low enough in carbs. Avocados are also high in magnesium, and they're a favourite in the keto world because of their high fat content and their low carbs. Avocados are also a good source of potassium, as are hemp seeds, and you can sprinkle some hemp seeds over your food to increase your potassium levels throughout the day. Eggs contain potassium and magnesium, as well as other very important minerals, and I used to keep a batch of hard-boiled eggs in the fridge, shelled, so I could just grab one and then dip it in some salt, and they're delicious like that. Eggs are so nutrient dense and so good for us, and this is a great way of getting lots of goodness and replenishing those electrolytes all at once. Drink plenty of fluids. Begin to listen to your body and follow any signals for thirst. Drink water, herbal teas, tea or coffee, although be careful with the coffee because that can increase your need for extra salt, so just watch that. Drink homemade soup made from bone broth. You can make this yourself or you can buy it online, but do make sure that it's a reputable brand. Or you can drink vegetable broth from your supermarket. I like this one, it's called Marigold Organic. So by the way, this is not a sponsorship or anything like that, this is genuinely what I drink. So I used to take a couple of spoonfuls of this in like a little container. I used to keep it in my handbag, so if I was out anywhere and you know, I felt like I needed a little bit of a boost, I would get some hot water and just have a little drink. Make sure you salt your food. Add salt to the pan when you're cooking, and also sprinkle some salt onto your food before you eat it. Once you get over that transition period, you may find that you no longer need to add quite as much salt. But as you begin to be able to listen to your body, you'll start to pick up signals as to how you're feeling and what your body needs, and it's important to listen to those signals. Make time for mindfulness and visualization. I love incorporating both of these techniques into my day. Mindfulness helps with reducing stress and anxiety, and visualization is, I believe, a vital tool in helping to support those daily actions and supporting the journey along as you go along through the ketogenic lifestyle. I like to visualize the cells of my body making that transition from being a sugar burner to a fat burner, seeing my fat cells shrinking and health rushing into every part of my being. I would say definitely don't underestimate the power of the mind as you go through this process. Remember, this is a transition period, and once you're through it, you can start to find the best type of keto to suit you, because that's what this is all about. It's about making those changes which are going to make a significant difference to your health and wellness. There is no one size fits all when it comes to health and wellness. There is only what is right for you. There is a way in which you can virtually remove the chances of you getting keto flu, and that is by gradually going from processed food to unprocessed food, and then to low carb, and then to keto. So gradually lessening your adherence to carbohydrates. And during this time, your body will slowly get used to becoming more predominantly a fat burner, and you'll notice fewer symptoms. Now, I should tell you that I advise just about everybody to do this, and virtually nobody does do it, and I totally get that, because people do just want to get onto that fat burning pathway as soon as possible and start seeing the changes. But doing it that way does mean that you're more likely to experience those transition symptoms of coming off being a sugar burner and onto being a fat burner. Remember that experiencing keto flu is about moving away from your addiction to carbs and the negative effect they can have on the body, and moving towards something so much better that will ensure that your body can thrive and give you the results that you want. So in effect, the symptoms that anybody experiences whilst making that transition is actually a call to action that your body is sending you, that you need to do something to help it through this time of coming off sugar. And so bearing that in mind, I think keto flu has been misnamed, really, and I think it should really be called sugar dependency syndrome, or don't blame the ketones for what the sugar did, because those symptoms are not what you've got to get through to become a fat burner. It's what you have to do to get away from the negative effects of being a sugar burner. And so it's an end of something that has not and never has been your friend, and the beginning of a new way of health and wellness, the first step towards a better and healthier you. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'm going to be putting more videos onto my channel, so please subscribe to make sure that you get all those important notifications. And if there's something you would specifically like me to do a video on, please email me. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me here in my Keto Gaia kitchen. Take care, and until next time, bye for now.